We saw the concept of DBMS. Now, how do we implement these concepts? Now, I told you DBMS is a program. How do you implement DBMS in order to get information, delete information, modify information? We use a language called SQL. SQL stands for Structured Query Language. This is a fun language to work with. It's fun to work with. Nothing. It's very, very simple. The structure, the way that I'm going to explain the structure, you will have a very good understanding of how to write this program in order to get your get the desired information. Now, let's come back to the structured query language. Now, when we are talking about the structured query language, this structured query language is again divided into different types. What are the different types of structured query language? Let's see here. The different types of structured query languages are data definition language, data manipulation language, data query language, transaction control language. There are a couple of more, but on a day-to-day basis, you as a tester will work only with the data manipulation language. You will not use the data definition language nor the data query language. You will only work with the data manipulation language. It's the only feature you will be working with. Okay, you will use data query language sometimes, but definitely not data definition language. The reason is that they won't give you permission to go and update something or modify something. That's a little dangerous thing. Unless and until there is a specific requirement to do that, without that you cannot do testing, they won't give you the particular access. So looking at this, SQL as such, we have to learn data definition language TDM, data manipulation language DML, data query language DQL. Then you have transaction control language. This is like a very simple commit and rollback. It's just a single word query that we write. We'll see why we do that also. Okay, so we'll see all these things in which you will be working main on this. Say 95% on this, 5% on this, but very 0.01% on this. But we will see all the three languages that we have to work with. So first we will see data definition language. Now, in order to understand data definition language, or in order to work with the structured query language, in order to work with this, you need to understand the concept of writing this. You need to understand the concept of how this structured query language is formed, right? Now, when you're looking at the structured query language, everything goes on table, column, and rows. Now, the data definition language, data manipulation language, data query language, all these three languages work on different parts of your application, works on different parts of your table. Now, when you're looking at, say, example, your data definition language, right? Now, when you're looking at your data definition language, if you want to create, say, example, let's do like this. Let's not go this way. Well, let's do it in a different way. If you want to work on the table and column, if you want to work only on the table and column, then we use the data definition language. So let's write it in the other way. SQL data definition language. Now this language works on the table and columns. So you cannot work with the records here or the rows here. This does not work with the rows or the data that is stored inside the columns. No, it only works on the table, that is your sheet, and you can create a new sheet, you can delete a sheet, you can rename the sheet. All those things you can do in data definition language. You can create a new column, you can delete a column, you can rename the column, you can change the data type of the column. All those things are done in data definition language, right? So that is what we do. So now when we are looking at this, if you want to create you can create a table, you can modify the table, or you can create a column, you can modify the column, or you can delete the column. Delete the column. These are the three features that you can do in your data definition language. Now coming to data manipulation language. Now in your data manipulation language, you start working with the data. That's what they say, data manipulation language. Now you only work with the rows here. Only work with the rows. So what you can do here, you can view the row, view the data in the row. You can create new data, right? You can modify data. You can delete data. There are some constraints like, it's called the SQL constraints, that we will talk about the constraints later. Those are not the major portion that you should be learning there. The next one is data query language. Now data query language. Now data query language again works on the rows. What is the difference between the data definition manipulation language and the data query language? Data query language allows you to work with multiple tables. Data in multiple tables. Then what else? Allows you to change column name on the fly. You know what do you mean by on the fly, right? It does not actually physically go change the name. Yeah.
Rajesh, you said the DQL also allows you to work with the rows, right?
Yes.
So then you said allows you to the next second line you wrote allows you to
change the column name on the fly. What does this mean is that say example, I am adding I have a column which says salary.
Okay.
Now say example, your salary is $1,000. I want to create a bonus. Okay. So on the fly, I wanted to add $500 and see what is the total amount coming up.
Okay.
So when you create a column with you have to create a special column on the fly, right?
Yes.
When you create a column, you will say salary You will say, when you have to sum up this, right? Salary
Yes.
plus 500. That's how you will write.
Hmm.
Now the column name will come as salary plus 500.
Okay.
We don't want like this. Say example, we want it as bonus.
Bonus.
But this table is not actually created there. This column is only created on the fly.
Hmm.
So I'll say this as bonus. Now you can change the column name right here.
Yes.
So this is just on the fly.
Okay.
That's what it means when you say on the fly. You are changing the name.
Okay. Understood.
Okay.
But it still allows you to work with the rows.
It still allows you to work with the rows, but this when your query is executed, you will see this result. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
But there is nothing like a column bonus gets created in your table. No, nothing. It's just
Okay,
on the fly. On the fly it is.
Understood.
Got it?
Yes. Understood, Rajesh. Thank you.
Similarly, it allows you to create. It allows you to use certain inbuilt functions. Right? Data query language allows you to use inbuilt functions. Oh God. Sorry, sorry guys. Data definition language allows you to create, modify, delete. This is only for table and column. Now, data manipulation language allows you to view, create new record or row, modify, delete rows. Now, this is only on the data. We are working only on the data. Similarly, DQL, data query language, allows you to, we can use clauses like, what do you say, conditions. We can use conditions here. We can use aliases. That is where I said creating table on the fly or column on the fly. Then we can use operators. So this is what we can use, but it's again on the data. Only in the data definition language, it allows you to touch the table and the column. Rest both are only on the data. Now you have so many things that you can work with. Now how do you write the language? Now you have to write a query. Here we don't call this as a script. We don't call this as a script. Here we call this query. Yep.
Okay. So since you said you can use, on the data you can use, allows you to use condition, aliases and operators, right?
Mm-hmm.
The DQL. And
Yes.
also allows you to work in multiple tables and
Yes.
allows you to create column on the fly.
Yes.
Okay. So whatever you wrote before and it adds up to this also, right?
Let me add that also. Yeah.
Okay.
So say example, I don't have space to write, so I'll extend it here saying, I'll put it here, this side. Join multiple table. Then use functions. So these are things that it allows you to do. Now here, whatever we write is not called a script. In SQL, whatever we write is not called a script. It is called a query. Now, how do you write the query? Now, for a language, for a script in QTP, we learned how to write that. Can anyone tell me the framework of writing the script? Anyone in QTP?
I didn't understand your question, Rajesh.
In QTP, I taught you how to what is the framework of writing the script. See, writing the script is if you drag and drop, you write, say, example, window, dot, like that, right?
Yeah.
But there is a framework that I taught you.
Yeah, we have to write the class dot that thing, right? That's
Yeah,
what.
yes.
Okay.
You know that, right?
Yeah.
Similarly, there is a framework here. Let me show you the framework. This is not an international framework. So if you go show and tell anyone about the framework, they won't understand the way we are talking. It is something that I learned it when, for me to understand a language, it's little difficult for me to learn. So I learn it in a way where my brain can understand it. Similarly, when I was learning, when I did QTP, that's the way I learned. Now, when I teach my students also, it's much easier for them to remember that. That's why. Now, how do I learn this? Now, the way we have to write the query is like this. What? Wait, let's use multicolor. So let me clean this up. Be careful. So I'm going to say first is what should I do? First thing, what, and then I will say expression. What expression? Table name. Okay. So what should I do? What expression I should do? What table name I should access? Then condition. No, I'll use another color here. Condition. What condition it is? Then I can use what else I can use? Fine, we'll stop with this. So you are writing what, expression, table name, condition. Now this is what we are going to. This is how we are going to write the query. So the what is what you're going to do. Is it a DDL language? What are you going to do here? Is it a DDL language that you're going to work with, or a DML language, or a DQL language? So now when we are writing the what here, let me clean this up. What should come from what language you are going to select. Say example, you want to create a new table or a column. So we say create. Now this create is used only for creating a new table. Okay. Now once you create a table, during the creation you create a column also. When you are creating a table, you will say how many columns you have. Say example, I am going to create a table customers with 5 columns. What is the column name? What is the column name and the data type? Right. So now how do we put this here? So I'll say create. What do you want to do? I wanted to create a table. That's the DDL language. So I'll say what create I want to create. I'm not putting any values there. So there's no expression. The expression is what I should do here. That is, I want to create a table, right? So I'll say the expression is table. What is the table name? Customers. What is the condition? Now the condition is that I should have 5 columns here. So I'll put a bracket here, column 1, comma, column 2, comma, column 3, comma, column 4, comma, column 5, and close. So now you know that by using what you want to create, the condition, the table name, and the expression, table name, and the condition. Now the condition varies depending upon the language you select. Okay, so first we are seeing only the DDL in creating a column and creating a table and a column. So we say create. So in order to create something, you have to use the word create. Let me clean this up and write it pretty neat. Use the language create. So create table. What is the expression I want to do? I want to create a table. Table, customers, that's the table name. And what is the condition? All these 5 columns have to be created. Guys, you are able to understand this? Are you guys able to understand this?
Yes.
You will understand?
Yeah.
So let's write this in. Now, in order to access my Oracle, yep.
Rajesh, where do we give the data type, Rajesh? Do we mention it there when we create?
Yes. When we create, yeah, that's a good question. Let me put that also. Good question. So I will say column name. When I'm saying column name, I'll put the data type here.
Oh, there, okay.
I'll put the data type. Now, when we are creating the column, right, certain things that we need to remember. Let me in say example in SQL, when you are creating a column, say you are giving a column name, say example for customers, I'm giving a column name customer underscore name. So this is where my name is going to be stored. Now you are telling what is the data type you are going to store. So I am saying it's a string. So I'll give varchar.
Varchar, okay.
Varchar 2. How much data you're going to put there? I'll say I can put up to 256 words in a string. So I'll say example name won't reach more than 100 words, correct?
Yeah.
Say example 100. Now I have to say whether this is a mandatory column.
Oh.
You know what do you mean by a mandatory column?
You have to have a value there. Is that so?
Correct. Do you have to have a value, or is it okay you don't have a value? Now, when you say it's okay you don't have a value, that means yes, it cannot be empty. Here the term empty does not come into picture. Okay, here it is either null or not null. These are the 2 words we use here. Now, when you're looking at null and not null, these are basically now when null is not empty, null doesn't mean empty. That is, there is no data there. That's all. It's not empty field. So don't think that when you put null, it means empty field. No, that means there's no data there.
Oh, okay.
So when you have to define whether it can be a null or a not null. If you don't put anything here, by default it will take it as null. That means this field can take empty values.
Oh, okay. So we can even leave it blank then.
Leave it blank. But if you put not null, that means the record will not insert till there is a value there. You're getting me?
Yeah.
Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah. Any other doubts, guys?
Rajesh, so whenever we declare a column, we have to specify whether it can be null or not null, or
Yes, if you feel that column can be ignored even and updated later, then don't give anything.
okay. But if it cannot be, then we have to give not null.
Say example, in your without your first name and last name, you cannot fill up a form.
Correct.
So if you see in some forms, online forms, they will put a small star there, red star.
Yeah.
That means that column you cannot submit the form unless you fill those information.
Yes.
How does that application know you have not filled that information? When you submit only, it will know that you have not filled the information, and it will return back a screen saying that you have not filled up these information.
Correct. Correct.
So when you submit, the request goes to the database, and the database will reject the data because that particular column, which was supposed to be not null, is empty.
Okay.
And